the China tariffs, that much of that cost was passed through. But then secondly, even more basically,
stay with that. Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
So who are the studies by?
You know, a lot of very prominent economists, New York Fed, but other academic economists as well.
All the ones that were wrong about Trump, you know, like the
ones
biggest
that you don't believe in and that you kind of felt.
But I think it's fair, Anna, for you to go back and look at those analyses, who said it, and then look what they said, for example, when Trump came into office and how they predicted there would be chaos, recession, inflation, stagnation. That has never happened. I think my point here is that the academic community can't be trusted to critique Trump economics. And they have a credibility problem because they've been crying this wolf. They did it all through the first term. None of that happened. They're just wrong. We're right, they're wrong. End of story.
And you feel that the American people are on your side with that assessment that economists don't know what they're talking about?
It's the American people who've borne the brunt of this for going on, what, 40 years now. How many times do you have to be told by politicians and corporate flacks that this free trade stuff's good for you, and then you lose your job and your community falls down around you, for you to stop believing them? I mean, it did, you know, that's why Trump got elected in 2016.
So tariffs work by raising the price of foreign goods. And when the price of foreign goods go up, you know, that is what encourages people to buy domestic goods. I mean, isn't that the way that tariffs work?
All right, let's walk through that. Okay, there's a rhyme to the reason why we did.
I asked him this question a couple of times. Aren't tariffs supposed to increase prices? Because that's how tariffs work. They make the foreign good more expensive, so people buy American goods instead. But Navarro didn't really give me a direct answer. Instead, he talked about how Chinese companies would absorb some of the cost of the tariffs to keep prices low.
Your goal is to help U.S. factories, but a lot of U.S. factories do buy components and parts from abroad. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of manufacturers who say that would raise their costs. It would make them harder for them to make things. Does that kind of backfire on your agenda?
So here's one of the iron laws of manufacturing. If manufacturing goes abroad, the supply chains follow, and vice versa. Okay? So...
And he just kept coming back to the idea that ultimately tariffs will incentivize both American and foreign companies to build factories in the U.S.
You can have a domestic investment come quickly. When we did the steel,
which he believes will then lead to higher wages for Americans.
You see wages go up, and that gives consumers more spending power and offsets any rise in prices. If real wages rise faster than any other types of inflation, people are still better off.
And he said these tariffs aren't happening in a vacuum. He argues that if the Trump administration is able to get the price of oil down, if Elon Musk and his team are able to cut government waste and red tape, and if Trump keeps taxes low, all of these moves together would reduce inflation and help the U.S. economy.
Because one of the most important things that we're trying to accomplish, that President Trump is trying to accomplish, is more stable and resilient supply chains, which we have learned.
But what Navarro said is the most important part of all of this, why he's so focused on tariffs and bringing manufacturing back to the United States, is that it all comes back to national security.
If we don't have manufacturing in the defense industrial base, because it all got exported because people are cheating us on trade, we're not going to be there. And that's why in the first term, when President Trump said economic security is national security, it was a very important message and foundation for the way we here in Trump land think about things.
The sense I'm getting from talking to you about your conversation with Navarro is that We're talking about these really aggressive, audacious policy tools. And in fact, in some form or fashion, the U.S. has been using them for the past few years. They obviously started in the first Trump administration. But what's coming through is that it doesn't sound like Navarro is actually grappling with what you're describing as the potential negative consequences of these tariffs.
I don't think that he believes in those negative consequences. No. He doesn't believe in what most experts are saying, which is that all of these tariffs could end up really hurting Americans.
It's not going to be painful for America. It's going to be a beautiful thing. President Donald John Trump has proven that tariffs work for the American people. And they're going to be even more, much more important this second term. This is all set in motion now, Anna. So stay tuned.
So that order will... he and the president are embarking on imposing tariffs at just a vastly bigger scale than we've seen in this country in many decades. And so it is kind of like a grand experiment, really, to see if they're right about how tariffs will play out for the American economy.
Well, Anna, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
The Daily is supported by Condor Airlines, offering nonstop service to Frankfurt, Germany from 13 U.S. gateways, with connections in Frankfurt to many worldwide destinations. More information at condor.com. Condor welcomes you aboard. Innovative, immersive, and skillfully investigated. The Daily brings listeners today's stories as only the New York Times can report them. For more on today's episode, go to nytimes.com/The Daily.
The Daily is powered by the journalism of the New York Times. It's distributed by APM, American Public Media. You can go deeper into the stories you hear on The Daily at nytimes.com/The Daily. That's it for The Daily. I'm Rachel Abrams. See you tomorrow.
Greetings. I'm Radio IQ's Chief Advancement Officer, Renee Bodley. We are a service of Virginia Tech, and the university's annual Giving Day goes from noon Wednesday to noon Thursday. During those 24 hours, anyone involved in Hokie life, whether you're an alum, student, employee, neighbor, or just a fan, is invited to donate to their favorite Virginia Tech cause. We sure hope Radio IQ is one.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 7 o'clock p.m. session of the Roanoke City Council on February 18th. I'll ask our clerk, Ms. McCoy, to please call the roll.
Mr. Nash?
Here.
Mr. Vollison?
Here.
Ms. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Hagan?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Here.
And Mayor Cobb.
Here, and a quorum is present. Tonight, our invocation will be delivered by the Reverend Elizabeth Link, Executive Pastor at Second Presbyterian Church, and immediately following that, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Scouting America Pac 11, Blue Ridge Mountains Council. So let's all please stand.
Let us join our hearts in prayer. Holy One, we gather today mindful of your many gifts, for a city with good and generous people, for a country seeking freedom and truth and a system of government that seeks to look out, not for the powerful, but for the common man, woman, person. We gather today yearning to be and do what is right and what is good. We pray, Lord, that you would shine your light and look with favor upon our city. Guide our city council members, sustain them in their work, support them in their anxieties, and strengthen them in their resolve to seek and pursue the well-being of all people. Grant them your wisdom. Bless their business and work together with patience, compassion, and understanding, and grant to them the strength to discern and carry forth your will. May you instruct us in our daily walk to bless this place, Roanoke, we call home. Amen.
Scout salute. I pledge allegiance Now, I'd like to invite the PAC group to come up along with leaders and parents up here, and we'll take a group picture together, and the rest of you can be seated.
Thank you.
Yeah, a few more.
Let's give our scouts a big hand.
Thank you for coming.
Whenever they went camping, I was nice enough to have to fix soup and sandwiches. And then this is your side. Okay. So this is the gateway, and then these are here are the citizens. In the back. Yes. There's two separate. Just hand this to her. This is the gateway. Just do not move this. And then this is hearing of citizens at the end of it. Okay. Just leave them alone. Okay.
Okay, so
Happy dance.
2/18.
Yeah, we got our stuff. We got our stuff.
As our scouts are exiting, we encourage anyone who's standing up to please come in and find a seat. All right, thank you all. I'm going to ask our Vice Mayor, Mr. McGuire, to certify our closed meeting.
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the members of council in attendance.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire. And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the motion is passed. Move on now to our presentations and acknowledgements. First, I'll introduce our city manager, Ms. Turner, who is at the beginning of her second month with us, for recognition of the Roanoke Valley chapter of Jack and Jill of America Teens. Angela, are you going to do that?
Angela's gonna do that, yes.
Okay, Angela Vernon, welcome. Welcome, everybody.
Well, good evening, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, City Manager Ms. Turner. Again, I'm Angela Vernon. I currently serve as the chapter president for the Roanoke Valley chapter of Jack and Jill of America. And tonight I have the honor of introducing you to our team president, Chelsea Pearson, along with our vice president, Jalen Vernon, and our team lead advisor, Ms. Gaynell Pearson. And so I'll turn it over to Ms. Chelsea.
Wonderful, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Joseph Cobbs, Vice Mayor Jerry McGuire, and City Manager Ms. Valmarie M. Turner, and all the other members of the City Council and citizens of Roanoke. Good evening, my name is Chelsea Pearson Maldonado, and I am the team president for the Roanoke Valley chapter of Jack and Jill. Thank you for acknowledging our organization, Jack and Jill of America. In 1938, Marion Stubbs founded Jack and Jill of America in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is a membership organization of mothers and children ages 2 to 19, and it is dedicated to nurturing future African American leaders by strengthening children through leadership development, volunteer service, philanthropic giving, and civic duty. We are really busy with school, after-school sports, church, and preparing for college. However, I would like to give you a brief synopsis of our chapter activities and community involvement this year. The highlight of our year was the great debate in which Mayor Cobbs, a member of City Council, participated. That was such a learning experience for all of us. We were able, through the Feeding Southwest Virginia, to donate bottled waters and cleaning supplies to help citizens impacted by Hurricane Helene. We volunteered at the Roanoke Valley Rescue Mission and packed over 100 bagged lunches. Through United Way, we monitored Christmas trees at Hotel Roanoke. Melrose Library allowed us to sponsor Soulful Santa, where children had pictures taken with Santa, they selected a gift, and enjoyed a reception. We volunteered at the Roanoke Heart Ball in support of heart health. We are anticipating a leadership conference in March. This year, Roanoke Valley and the James River chapters of Jack and Jill will co-host the Mid-Atlantic Region Teen Conference, which will be held in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you for your continued interest in our programs.
And so we just want to thank council again. You've been extremely supportive of our organization and certainly our debate. So it's a great opportunity for our young people to see after the debate what that looks like and see you at the diocese. So thank you for the opportunity.
Why don't you all come up and we'll get a picture. Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for all the tough debate questions. They do. They don't have the best questions. I like to participate.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
One more, Evan.
Next, I'd like to invite up the Pathfinders for the Greenways who have a presentation they'd like to make.
Good evening. Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of council, City Manager Turner, thank you for joining us. So my name is Frank McGuire. I'm the Greenway Coordinator for the Roanoke Valley. I'm here on behalf of Pathfinders, our nonprofit partner at the Greenways. So we have Brian McCahill, Mary Lou Legg, and Craig Favor, the chair of the Pathfinders. They are our nonprofit partner for the since 1997, making the Greenways possible here in Roanoke Valley. We're pleased to offer this check of $20,000 to the city as a partnership with the City Arts Commission to foster new murals on the Greenway. So we have 2 that have already been completed, and we're looking forward to a 3rd one. And so this is just the first donation that we have from our recently created Arts and Amenities Fund. And when I say we, it's the Pathfinders for Greenways that has created this. They're the ones who've contributed to for years to the Roanoke City and beyond to make the Greenways possible. We do this to make sure that the Greenways are welcoming, inviting spaces. We appreciated the opportunity to work with Doug Jackson at the City Arts Commission, and it's been a great experience right from the start. The Arts in Residence program that he's created is a model for our other member localities in the Greenway Commission. Our goal with the Arts and Amenities Fund was to make the areas of the Greenways that the Greenways pass through feel like a part of the neighborhoods that they touched. With John Mural working on the mural at the Walnut Avenue Bridge in Southeast, and Katrina Leggings working on the 10th Street Viaduct near Brown Robertson Park on the Lick Run Greenway, we feel that our expectations were exceeded with the works that they have created. We are very excited to have been able to make that possible. We look forward to making more of these visions come true. As I said, this is a fund that's been created, and we've exceeded what our goal, the $20,000, which is our first commitment on this. We look forward to making this happen many years into the future. So, thank you.
Formation. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. That's a keeper.
Wait.
Oh, I'm good.
I got it. You got it. All right.
All right.
Make sure and take that check down to the treasurer in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you all. All right, we're going to now move into the section of our agenda, which is our public hearings, and we have 2 of those this evening. The first one is a request of Homes for America to repeal all conditions proffered as part of a previous rezoning on property located at 632 Bullitt Avenue Southeast. I'm not going to read the whole resolution because our clerk gets to do that. We do have one measure, an ordinance, and I need a motion and a second for the ordinance.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
I sure will. All right. Let's get the right glasses on for this. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 37876-082007, adopted August 20, 2007, to the extent that it placed certain conditions on property located on 632 Bullitt Avenue Southeast, bearing official tax map number 4013018. 2, repeal ordinance number 38461-051809, adopted May 18th, 2009, to the extent that it placed certain conditions on property located on 624 Bullitt Avenue Southeast, bearing official tax map number 4013015, and 3, rezone property located at 612, 624, 632, 704, 708, 710, 712, 716, and 6 parcels addressed as 0 Bullitt Avenue Southeast, 703, 705, 709, 711, 715, 727, and 729, and 8 parcels addressed as 0 Jameson Avenue Southeast and 0 6th Street Southeast, bearing official tax map numbers, bear with me, 4013014, 4013015, 4013018, 4013113, 4013115, 4013116, 4013117, 4013118, 4013311. Let's start it again on that one. 4013011, 4013012, 4013112, 403-114, 401-3119, 401-3120, 401-3102, 401-3103, 401-3105, 401-3106, 401-3107, 401-3109, 401-3110, 401-3002, 401-3003, 401-3004, 401-3009, 401-3101, 401-3104, 401-3108, 401-3111, 401-3010, respectively. From IN and Institutional District, MX Mixed Use District with conditions, and RM2 Residential District to RMF Residential District with conditions, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy. The City Planning Commission recommends approval. And at this time, I want to recognize several people who are here to share information with us. First of all, Mr. Ben Crew, who is with Balzer & Associates, Denise Fazio with Homes for America, Lee Clark with the Rescue Mission, and Jamie Cook with Grimm and Parker Architects. So I'll invite you all to come and share your overview. Welcome.
Good evening, members of council. Ben Crew with Balzer & Associates, acting agent on behalf of this request, and appreciate the opportunity to be with you all this evening. So we are genuinely excited to be here this evening. So it's been a long road to get to this point, not only through the zoning process, but from a land ownership process with the rescue mission, and so we're excited to be before you this evening. We've got Mayor Cobb, I appreciate you sharing names. We've got kind of we'll call it an all-star cast this evening that was going to share some thoughts with you all. If you'll stick with us for just a minute, we're going to share some background. I think it's important for everybody to understand where we've been with this from the development side, from the ownership side, from the developer side, because there's a lot of players on this level of project that I want you all to hear from this evening. We're just going to share a few minutes with you this evening. So first you're going to hear from Lee Clark. from the rescue mission side. It's important because they're the property owner, and they're going to remain the property owner and be invested in the projects. That's important. You're going to hear from Denise Fazio, who is with Homes for America. Most importantly, the developer that wants to come into the city and invest in the city for new housing. I'm going to share a little bit of background about the process that we've been through. You know, the amended applications, the neighborhood meetings, our approach to the development plan, and kind of where we are headed with the project. And then Jamie Cook with Grimm & Parker Architect is going to wrap up a little bit and just share some of the highlights about what we're pretty excited to share with you all this evening about the architecture of the buildings. So we're going to walk through those pieces a little bit, and they'll be happy to answer any questions, and then we want to hear from folks and then, you know, share with you all this evening. So I'll invite Lee to come up and kind of get us kicked off here.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. You know, I get to share a bit about the history of how we got here. You know, for 8 years, the Rescue Mission has sought a meaningful use of what we call the Gateway property to support Southeast Roanoke's revitalization. I think back to 2017 when the property included a vacant church, a gutted daycare building, 2 rental homes, and several boarded up buildings. And our mission's leadership and board members cast a strong vision. We wanted to develop a community asset without expanding the emergency services of the rescue mission and complement Southeast Roanoke's revitalization efforts. And so rather than selling the property, which, as we just noted, it's currently zoned with industrial mixed use and residential zoning, we wanted to prevent anything that could be negative that could come into the neighborhood. We wanted to be active participants in bringing something positive to Southeast. And so we went about on a path to solutions for that. We started exploring options with developers, nonprofits, healthcare providers, businesses, and all along Ben Crew and the team from Balzer and Associates was by our side, helping us and guiding us through that effort. And despite all that, we found no suitable partners at that time. And that led to demolition of some unsafe buildings in 2020 to really kind of bring the site to where it is today, which is a vacant lot. And so we continued to seek development for neighborhood feedback all along the way from our friends in the Belmont Fallon Neighborhood Group. We prioritized a number of possibilities, one of which was affordable housing. And then in April of last year, we were excited to come before the neighborhood group and announce that we thought we'd had a good partner, that we could bring affordable housing to the neighborhood. And so that brings us to Homes for America. In July last year, I was able to tour their Baltimore properties, really to see the quality of construction, the high quality services that they also offer their residences, residential services there. And so, and then Homes for America came here to learn more about the Roanoke City area, what the challenges of the site were, and how we could bring it to a positive development. So tonight we're very excited to talk about transforming a vacant lot and a challenging 4-acre site into a catalyst for neighborhood renewal for Southeast. This is a partnership. The Rescue Mission will own the property. Homes for America will develop the site and continue daily management of the property. The project really reflects the Rescue Mission's commitment to the community, and again, is not an expansion of our services. And Homes for America, with 30 years of experience managing 80 properties and 8,000 units, brings a proven record of affordable housing. And I'm excited to partner with them and for Denise to come up and to share more. So Denise.
Good evening. I'm Denise Fazio with Homes for America, and we are a nonprofit developer. And we've made it our mission to build and preserve affordable housing across the Mid-Atlantic region since 1994. We continue to build on our 30-year track record of developing a wide range of housing from urban to suburban to rural communities. Homes for America, as Lee mentioned, has completed more than 80 rental communities consisting of over 6,700 units across Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And the real measure of our success is in the quality of life of our residents and our communities, because we understand that a home is more than just a shelter. It's the foundation for a brighter future. I was very excited when a mutual acquaintance of the Rescue Mission reached out to me about an opportunity in Roanoke, both because this is where I grew up And also, I knew the work and the reputation of the rescue mission. I was even more excited when I saw the site and the neighborhood of the proposed gateway development. And we're very fortunate to have a partner who's not interested in maximizing their economic return, but rather making a contribution to bring additional affordable housing to the city. So the request we have in front of you today will allow us to provide approximately 155 apartment units for general occupancy use located in 3 buildings. We're planning for a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units as well as amenity spaces. In all of our communities, we include a resident service component, and that's tailored to the residents. And it might include educational opportunities, health and wellness programs, financial counseling, community connectivity, as well as a multitude of other social and recreational programs. So the key element of the gateway development is to provide housing that is affordable. This means the rents will be limited to serve those that make from 30% to 60% of the area median income, which in Roanoke City range from approximately $18,300 a year to $60,000 per year, depending on the family size. We also plan to incorporate a few workforce housing units, which would allow incomes up to 80% of the area median income, and that would be roughly $75,000 per year. Incorporating the workforce housing units, a few of those would allow us to add a few more additional units at the lowest end of the area median income and serve that community. What this translates to in terms of rent is that a 1-bedroom apartment would rent from approximately $450 per month at the lowest AMI levels at 30%, and a 3-bedroom apartment would rent for approximately $1,300 per month at the 60% AMI level. So in Roanoke City, these income ranges serve people who are working various positions as city employees, including young teachers and policemen, as well as those who take care of your children at the daycare, who serve you or assist you at various retail and service positions every day. We plan on developing Gateway in a couple of phases, and we're working to put together the various sources of financing. One of those sources is tax credits through Virginia Housing, and that provides equity for the cost of development. And that source requires that the restrictions on the rent levels, as I described previously, must be maintained at those area median income levels for a minimum of 30 to 50 years. So it's our hope to be in a position to begin construction on one of the buildings in 2026, and we look forward to being a long-term member of the Belmont-Fallon community. Thanks. Ben, I'm going to describe a little more about the development.
Thanks, Denise. So I'm going to walk a little bit through the process that we've been through just to make sure everybody's aware of kind of where we've been with this. So the development plan that's on the screen on both sides of the room here has evolved over the last 6 months, has evolved a tremendous amount in the last 3 months. And, you know, it really reflects the vision of the property from a lot of different angles, and we're excited to share it with you. Because there's a tremendous amount of, as everyone knows, of unique characteristics of, you know, this block between Jameson and Bullitt and between 8th and 7th and Bullitt. You know, there's a lot of unique characteristics that make just, you know, a challenging property to develop, the uniqueness of the road configuration, and most importantly, how do you fit the buildings and the infrastructure that you need in this to make it a successful project, right? And so there's a lot of characteristics that were considered, you know, topography, access. When we talk about access, it's not just for vehicles, it's for pedestrians too, right? So we want to make sure we consider both of those. You want to make sure that we have sensitivity to the adjacent properties, and whatever improvements that we have can be building related, can be site related. And make sure that in all of this, in the back of our mind, we're still considering the neighborhood goals and the city's goals for this area. We want to make sure that there's an appropriate location, scale, massing of site improvements, including site improvements and buildings. A couple of the...
It's the Martians.
Not sure what that is. Maybe the mic. So. Just point that mic away. There you go.
Got me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So we've attended both Planning Commission work sessions just to listen. It's a listening meeting from a developer side. We had the opportunity to be on the neighborhood agenda for the Belmont Fallon target area. A handful of you all participated in that meeting and came and listened, which I thought was great. We were fortunate enough to be on that agenda and kind of, share the background about where we were and wanted to listen and solicit feedback. As we all know, that's an optional meeting. That's not a requirement of the city, but we want, as Lee talked about, we wanted this to make sure that this project meshed within the community. We also worked from the beginning of the project with city staff, soliciting feedback from them even before we submitted for the first time, working through that process, responding to comments, being part of the Planning Commission meeting with their recommendation for approval, and then before you this evening. We've been through 3 amended applications, and that doesn't mean that there were 3 issues along the way. It means the project adapted to where we are this evening, right? So we submitted an original application, put our best foot forward on what we were providing, and then there were some concerns from staff about, hey, what you're providing, we want to make sure this is what we end up with. So as part of amended application number 2, we said, okay, we would love to proffer this development plan. So what you see is what's going to be developed. Also, as Exhibit A, what you see from a building standpoint is what we're going to end up with at the end of the day. And, and part of that was providing assurances to everyone sitting here and to you all in the city that, hey, what we're proposing to you all is what we're going to construct. And so we're providing proffered conditions to ensure that's met. There were also some feedback as part of amended application number 2, some architectural clarifications related to the narrative that were minor in nature but important enough to include as part of the narrative of the project. So as Denise talked about a little bit about the development plan, there's 155 units shown on here, 3 buildings shown in blue that vary between 3 and 4 stories because there's a tremendous amount of fall from Bullitt to Jameson. And so the buildings reflect that. The buildings are pulled close up to the street to reflect the goals and objectives of the city ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Parking's provided on site to support the residential units. That's off-street parking. Thank you. You're doing a great job, Catherine. Thank you. Parking is provided off-street. There's a lot of conversations about parking because this type of housing requires a lower threshold for parking, right? And so what we've established just on site is a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 unit, 1 parking space. And we looked at a lot of studies that Denise provided on their other communities, and the thresholds are much lower for what you need, but there was concern from city staff that, hey, we at least want to be at a 1-to-1, not considering any on-street parking, not considering any public transportation that's adjacent to the site. Okay? Let's see. Oh, you'll notice there's a section on the right-hand side of the page. There's 4 parcels there that are not part of this development. 2 are owned by Gateway, and 2 are owned by other individuals. So we have, and it's every other, right? And so we have excluded those 4 parcels as part of this project. Could something happen in the future? Yes, but we can't predict the future, and it's not part of the project right now. But what we're doing as part of this is we're maintaining the alley between 7th Street and 8th Street, improving it to 10 times better what it would ever be from current city alley standards, and providing access to those properties in the back to make sure that they have great access to the back of their lots. So we want to make sure we didn't exclude anyone from that side. From a traffic standpoint, we worked with the transportation department. What we have shown is probably the best scenario that you could have from a traffic access standpoint. We've got 2 access points on 7th and then 1 on 8th. We don't have 15 driveways accessing onto Bullitt, 15 driveways accessing onto Jamison. We're accessing off a side street from controlled intersection locations. So we thought that was really, really important. Certainly pedestrian connectivity. There's sidewalks that are all around the site. Some of those will stay, some of those will get replaced, some of them are in disrepair. It's important to note that there are existing crosswalks at Jamison and 7th and Bullitt and 7th. And as part of this project, there's going to be pedestrian improvements or, flashing signs or beacons put at those to make sure that with the added pedestrian traffic that may be crossing Jamison or crossing Bullitt to the bus stops, that there's additional driver awareness made. Both those crossings, even though Bullitt and Jamison are busy, and we know it's a very busy spot, they are one ways. So you're not trying to navigate traffic both ways. You're trying to look in one direction. But we're committed to adding pedestrian improvements, driver awareness for pedestrian improvements there. Hadn't really been pinned down what those might be because that's really a site plan standpoint. But we've made a commitment from a transportation side, and it's part of the narrative that we want to provide those as part of this project because pedestrian traffic is an important part of this. I'm going to hit a couple more things and then I'm going to be quiet. It's important to note that, in the residential multifamily district, which is what we're requesting this evening, is that 30% of the site has to be green space. That's written into the ordinance. So we're at a maximum of 70% impervious on the site. So when you look at this, you look at 30% on site, we've got 3 buildings, we've got some parking areas, but the rest of that green space will be green because 30% is required to be on site. So I think it's really, really important. We provided a traffic summary as part of the project and got concurrence with the city about our assumptions, the existing traffic that's in the area, our proposed traffic to make sure that we weren't going to create a situation where we were having a negative influence on the adjacent street network. It's always important to understand what the existing zoning designation is. And if you took the existing zoning designation and what we're proposing, those trips could be very, very similar or greater in the existing condition because you could have more intense commercial uses in the existing zoning than you can in the residential multifamily zoning. So we just want to share that from a background standpoint. It's important to understand that. And with that, I'll let Jamie share a little bit from an architecture side, and then we're going to be quiet and answer any questions from you all, and then we'll have a seat.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you all for having me and for this opportunity. I think I'll start with just a little information on how we got brought into the project. Grimm & Parker has worked with Denise and Homes for America on several successful projects in Maryland, so we were happy to be able to partner with them again and bring something here, the opportunity to bring something here in Roanoke. Grimm & Parker has been in business for over 50 years. It's a firm of about 100 professionals headquartered in Tysons with 3 offices. This project will be worked on out of the Charlottesville offices, which is where I am.
We can't hear.
Should I?
You can
bring
take
this
that
up
out of the stand and hold it close to you.
How's that?
If you just want to take it out of the stand and hold it up to your, yeah, there you
All right, I'll try not to pace. This project is a unique opportunity for Grimm & Parker to do some work in Roanoke. We've never done work in Roanoke before. We've completed projects in Charlottesville, Richmond, Petersburg, Norfolk, and other places across Virginia. So affordable housing is the focus of the residential work we do there. So I think that's enough of an overview here. To this project, 3 buildings, 155 units. I'd like to add to the information that Denise and Ben provided on those units. 15% of them will be fully accessible. So fully accessible, affordable units, which of course there's a shortage of those. We're excited to be able to offer them and to work on them. The buildings themselves will be in a scale and character to fit in the neighborhood. We're not trying to make an architectural statement here. These are to be a long-term part of the neighborhood. You'll see, as the grade falls away, 3- and 4-story units or buildings clad primarily in brick. We'll be pursuing funding through Virginia Housing, which has very strict requirements on the appearance and quality of the building and units. So these will be fully daylit, operational windows, many with Juliet balconies. You can kind of see them there in the renderings. In addition to these units, there'll be amenity spaces, laundry, meeting rooms, leasing and support spaces for the longevity of the project. Flat roof. The flat roof decision was made to still fit within the scale of the neighborhood, but reach the density we needed to make the project feasible. Other features, the primary entrance you'll see there is on Bullitt, and then as you go around the block on 8th over to Jameson for building 2, on Jameson, the primary entrance will be from Jameson, as well as entrances from parking within the site. Ben touched on some of the site features. Other things will include, green space for people, for residents to gather in, to actually be outside. We hope to do, playground stuff, something that will really keep people outside and engaged with the community. I think that's about all I have to share it now. Can move over to questions.
Thank you. Appreciate you all sticking with us for a few minutes. Be happy to answer any questions, or we can sit down for a minute.
Let's just do any clarifying questions right now, and then I'm going to open the public hearing so we can hear from citizens, and then we can have further discussion after that. Ms. Sanchez-Jones?
Hi.
Hi.
I would like to know how many units will be ADA accessible?
15?
No, that was.
15%?
How many?
15% of 155.
Okay.
Well, at least in building 1, we're targeting, and
Here,
that's above
come up
the-
here. Make sure to get everything on.
Right, that's right. So in building 1, which is the one that we plan to start with, we're trying to add more accessible units there. The minimum requirement would typically be 5%, but we're trying to do 15% in that building to bring more of those to the community.
Thank you.
Great question.
I got one.
Mr. Hagan?
Real quick, how much of the percentage is going to be low-income housing versus the workforce housing?
So it will be primarily, will all be affordable by Virginia Housing's prime, but I would only envision, we're still working on the unit mix, that we would have a few, meaning like 5, 6 maybe, workforce housing units.
Okay, cool.
And that's in building 1, so it might be about the same in the other buildings on a percentage basis.
Okay.
But yeah, very, very few of the workforce housing units.
Any other? Ms. Powers?
Yes, I attended the meeting that you had at Belmont, and I had asked the question if you knew what the effect this would have on the enrollment for Roanoke City Public Schools there, and you had not. Do you have that information yet?
I don't personally. Lee, do you know if we have anything more yet? We don't have any specifics yet. And we're still finalizing the unit mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms and working that out, which would be part of the factor.
So from your other places, you say you have 80 other places that you've done.
Right.
Do you know, do a lot of people move in that have school-age children? Or are these mainly professional young people, and my age people who aren't having kids anymore.
Right. And, that's a very market-specific kind of question. This is something, because we're not making it restricted by age or anything else, it could be children with, or families with younger children. We will have some 3-bedroom units. The majority of units will be 2-bedroom. I think in the first bedroom, we're looking at roughly 50% 2-bedroom, 25% 1, 25% 3. So, but you could also have a number of elderly people there, people who are downsizing and still want to stay in the neighborhood, but there's not, a lot of options for them. So, not to avoid your question, we just, we don't have enough of the specifics. And that's probably something, we have a market study that's underway, and they're waiting for us to finalize the bedroom mix, and that's probably something they'll address as part of that, is what they would assume might be some of the mix of the residents in terms of family size.
I have a question.
Okay.
In the portion of the building where, you all said some of your localities, you use it for healthcare clinics or for a library, I saw in your presentation. At this particular location, do you all have any kind of pie in the sky ideas of what you think the area may need, and how do you determine what the area needs? Do you do some kind of community assessment, or do you just say, hey, this fits, we'll go with this?
Right. No, we actually do a community assessment as residents are moving in to see what kind of services that they want or they need. But generally, I would say, in this property, I think because we have access to some service providers, we may have somebody come in to do blood pressure screening one day, or, various services, medical-related services. There's no on-site medical facilities, but we would work with service providers that might come in to do educational or actual screenings for the residents at certain points in time.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, then I'm going to open the public hearing. And Madam Clerk, do we have citizens wishing to be heard tonight?
Yes, we do. Approximately 10 on this matter.
Okay, so as you're called up, and we'll call your names 2 by 2, you'll each have 3 minutes. So please come up to the podium and as your name is called, one at a time.
The first speaker, Melissa Woodson, followed by Virginia Sweet.
Hello, I'm Melissa Woodson, and I'm Executive Director of the Ram House. During the cold snap in January, the Ram House lost one of our own. She was a lovely, homeless woman who was in her late 30s, who unfortunately stepped in front of a car. To this minute, I believe the stress of getting through Christmas, coupled by horrendous temperatures, led her to be inattentive to the street crossing. She was homeless, and she was a street person. People who are rehoused into affordable housing are better equipped to navigate our streets. We had been trying to find this young lady affordable housing, but had not been able to find her a place because of the cost of housing. The story's tragic, and every one of us in the Ram House has been heartbroken. Today, if you walk into our Ram House, you'll see a vast increase in elderly and disabled, both on fixed incomes, unable to afford housing. Sadly, these individuals live at the Ram House during the day, and they live at the rescue mission at night. Affordable housing would eliminate this so that our case managers at both the rescue mission and the Ram House can better work with people who suffer from extreme mental illness, substance abuse, and other handicaps that keep them from being well enough to be housed. Thus, I implore you to approve housing that will enable citizens to not live at the rescue mission in the Ram House, but rather live housed as the rest of us. I fully support the suggestions of the citizenry to attain traffic safety. Perhaps if we all work together and we talk together to one another about even more solutions, we can better create a community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Woodson. Welcome, Ms. Sweet.
Greetings, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, all the members of this full City Council, and our new city manager, Ms. Turner. My name's Virginia Sweet. I live at 1375 Lakewood Drive, 24015. I am speaking on behalf of 104 members of Churchwomen United of the Roanoke Valley, several of them who are here. A couple of them are today. I'm here to speak on behalf and in support of the Gateway Project. I met Ms. Denise Fazio with Homes for America and Mr. Lee Clark, Executive Director of the Rescue Mission, who made the connection with Homes for America. Ms. Fazio assured me that most of the units would be reserved for people who earn between 30 and 60% of the area median income. This includes my favorite cashier at Kroger, Stephanie, who saw me on TV and said, "You were talking about me." We all know the difficulty that private developers have in making the numbers work to build affordable units. And finally, a well-respected nonprofit bringing 155 units, and the numbers work because the rescue mission is providing the property. Dissenters at a recent planning commission had valid points for the project to be located elsewhere. Runoff from more paving and lack of trees, which also contributes to the heat index, pedestrian safety, speeding cars, those. And these concerns are within the City Council's purview. Take the climate action plan off the shelf and offer incentives to Homes for America to construct some permeable surfaces for parking lots. Provide a corpus of trees. I'm running out of time. Anyway, Catherine Gray from Building and Development addressed ways the city enhances pedestrian safety, a responsibility of the city. Anyway, they have what's called calming traffic measures, and you can be very creative with these, even more so than the gentleman talked about. And I urge the city to approve this proposal with their promise and pledge to address the concerns of the environment and the pedestrians. Create a model project of public-private cooperation for the public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweet.
Chad Brown and Danny Clausen.
Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Chad Brown. Thank you, City Council members. I've served on the Rescue Mission Board for the last 10 years in various capacities. I'm here to speak in favor of the rezoning request for the Gateway property to be rezoned as residential multifamily. This is a transformational project which lies at the southeast gateway into downtown Roanoke. I've seen this project evolve over the years, and I want to recognize the Rescue Mission CEO, Lee Clark, for his tireless efforts to help ensure that this asset is utilized for a good end that will elevate southeast Roanoke. He has participated in countless collaborative meetings with community stakeholders to get feedback on the types of development that are desirable for the neighborhood, and to work with numerous community partners to develop a vision and a plan. One of the desired outcomes identified early on was for affordable housing, and after many years, we're finally at the cusp of making this a reality. Affordable housing is a goal which resonates with me as a board member for the Rescue Mission. The Rescue Mission provides critical services to the community in providing shelter for the homeless and those men, women, and children who are living in crisis, providing food for the hungry, care for the sick, and recovery for those in addiction. As important and noble as the Rescue Mission is, it would be great if there was no need for a rescue mission in Roanoke. If in our community there was no hunger, there was no addiction, there was no shortage of health care, and there was no homelessness. Lack of affordable housing is often cited as the leading cause of homelessness, and having access to affordable housing provides innumerable benefits, from improved life expectancy, lower risk of mental health conditions, as well as job creation and retention, which then benefits the local economy and creates a virtuous cycle. The mission believes that everyone deserves a place to call home where they can thrive and live their best lives. The mission is not seeking to expand services with this project, but rather to curb the need for crisis intervention by attacking the root cause. The challenge is affordable housing developments are often difficult to pull off. I've heard this over the years from many developers. We've heard that tonight. The rescue mission is a top-notch facility in assisting people in crisis, but the mission's not a real estate development organization, which is why we've partnered with Homes for America, which is a leader in this area with a strong track record of developing and managing high-quality, affordable housing. Your approval of this rezoning request will be a catalyst for revitalization in southeast Roanoke and will improve neighborhood safety and create high-quality, affordable housing that enhances the entire community and will be one step closer to ending homelessness. So thank you for your support and consideration of this request.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, thank you. It's good to see you all again, and welcome Ms. Powers. My name is Danny Clausen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition. I serve 1,500 people in this region, in this area of Roanoke specifically, the vast majority of whom, over 60%, are unstably housed. I am also a resident of Southeast Roanoke and a homeowner there. I am so familiar with this property because I drive by it every day, twice a day, to get to and from work, including on the weekends when I'm running my errands. It's the primary way in and out of my neighborhood. As I've been living there and becoming a closer member of the community, this project, this space in the area is just really sets a bad tone when you come up into Southeast. It is, despite being green spaced, incredibly hard baked during the summer months. Nobody, even on the nicest day, spends time there. There's no really space to recreate. It's just an empty, vacant, open, sad space. That is why one of the many reasons that I am thrilled about this project. As somebody who has a master's of public health from Emory University, I understand deeply that housing is healthcare. And as somebody whose primary mission it is to address the opioid crisis in our city, I can tell you with confidence that this is one of the best things that we can do to address the opioid crisis. It is near impossible to achieve recovery, to get better and get the help that you need while you're living on the streets. It is so hard not to descend into chaotic substance use when you are unhoused. If we want to address the housing crisis that we have here, the homelessness and the addiction that our communities are suffering from, providing 155 deeply affordable units is one of the best plans I've ever seen. I have gone to many a city council in my years in several different cities where development companies are talking about affordable housing, and yet this is the first time where I've heard the vast majority are going to be deeply affordable. The idea of a $450 unit in this city is life-changing for all the people I serve. And so I beg you guys to support this project. I am so excited for all the good things that it is going to bring to our city, not least of which is because, as they already said, they bring in community partners. I live up by the Morningside Park, and while I love it, it's beautiful. I love my garden and my sound baths. It's not really accessible to the most in need in our community. That corridor along Jamison and Bullitt are the ones that are in desperate need of services like LEAP and Carillion health screenings and all the services that the community can bring in. I'm excited about the green space. I'm excited about the community-oriented focus of this project, and I ask you to approve it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee Osborne, Barbara Dirk.
welcome Mr. Osborne.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. My name is Lee Osborne. I'm an attorney with Woods Rogers. Mayor Cobb, members of council, appreciate the opportunity to speak on this matter. My involvement with the Rescue Mission goes back to 1986 when, as chair of a community service committee for our Kiwanis Club, Joy Sylvester Johnson came to our club and asked us to help to build a playground. We only had $3,000 in our budget, but we ended up being able to partner with a business in the community, and they built a $10,000 playground, and we didn't have to spend any of our $3,000 budget on it, so it was fantastic. But that's an example of the kind of things that tend to happen with the rescue mission. And I am a member of the management committee for the owner of this property, which is technically Gateway Property LLC. And I thought it would be helpful maybe to give a little background. This is the question that hasn't been asked, but I thought it would be helpful to give a little bit of background about how unlikely this project is, but also how seemingly inevitable this project is. The unlikeliness comes from, this is not a situation where the Rescue Mission or the Rescue Mission Foundation, which are two separate organizations with separate boards, but are, the foundation is a support organization, and our members of our board are appointed by the Rescue Mission. And so that there's a very integral connection between these two organizations. These two properties were acquired separately. The church property, as it was described by Lee Clark, was acquired a number of years ago, and about 10, 12 years ago, the foundation was presented with an opportunity to purchase what at that time were primarily single-family homes on property next door. We took that opportunity because we had an expectation of a development, which then did not happen. And so we were confronted with, what do? We now own this property, how are we going to develop it? And as Lee mentioned, both boards came together. We united the property in one entity called Gateway Property LLC. The word gateway was really an indication of the promise and the hope that we have for what that property will be. And we believe that this project, in partnership with Homes for America, will be an outstanding contribution to both the city of Roanoke and to Southeast Roanoke. We believe that it's an appropriate use and a consistent use with both the mission of the Rescue Mission as well as the mission of Homes for America. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, what I was asking, if there was a different picture of the project that could be projected on the screen.
Which one did you want?
The one of the streetscape in the building, that one. That one. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am Barbara Dirk, and I love Southeast. And tonight I'm going to talk about age. I want to first congratulate the Belmont Lofts and the restoration of the Trinity Methodist Elderly Housing Project that was on the news today. Absolutely fantastic, taking old buildings located in the neighborhood and repurposing them for housing. It helps to maintain the neighborhood character and provide the housing. I'm going to speak of age. I love Southeast, but the age of the Southeast community is beginning to show. We need land banking. We need funds to support seniors that want to remain in their houses but need help maintaining their structures. I have concerns about additional low-income housing in this area because we no longer have a Southeast Action Forum. We no longer have neighborhood watches. And the neighborhood, we believe in strong neighborhoods. And I'm wondering if this is going to allow Southeast to have strong neighborhoods. Roanoke City has vision. These houses were built to be the homes of the railway workers that helped transform Salt Lake to the magic city that is now the Star City of the South. Roanoke City has vision. We have Vision 2020 that created village centers and planning towards that and encourage bicycle and pedestrian and walking setbacks. We have Vision 2040, which is encouraging environmental concerns, water runoff, and equity and inclusion, and also permeable pavement. The project people have proffered this, that they will have this, and I don't see enough green or trees along the roadway. And frankly, I tried the bicycle over there, and I just couldn't get there. I could not get there on my bicycle because I did not want to ride on Bullitt or Jamison. So what I see, the picture shows that we need handicap accessible sidewalks for our ADA people, that we need better traffic signalization. As I said, I couldn't bicycle on that street, so we need to look at the traffic flow. We need to implement Vision Zero, which is a goal of council.
Go ahead and finish.
My favorite book says the least of these should receive not scraps from the back door, but be seated at the table. And if I were choosing a place to live, I would live by the greenways. I would live so I would have access to a grocery store, access to healthy alternative transportation, and to work and to school. So if I were there, I would want to be in Riverdale or the new Walker Foundry development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Louis Strickler and Taylor Stone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Louis Strickler. I rise to support the Gateway Project. As you all know, America has been suffering through a period of high inflation and high interest rates and a housing crisis, which makes it so difficult to buy an affordable home or to pay rent, even right here in Roanoke. And so, as so many people have said before, we need good housing and more housing. The need is growing, it's not diminishing, particularly for people who have fewer choices because they have fewer dollars. People who are more affluent have always had the choice to build or to buy a new house in a brand new neighborhood, often beyond Roanoke city limits. But people with more limited means can't easily do that near downtown Roanoke, where available land has become quite scarce for residential use. They feel priced out of the market. So I was really glad to hear the full presentation tonight, and I think we're finally turning the corner. Available land is less likely to be zoned or rezoned for residential use, which greatly affects people who can least afford a good, convenient place to live. And it's interesting, this problem was illustrated or pointed out in a Wall Street Journal article just a couple of days ago that was entitled, "How Antiquated Zoning Laws Ruin the Housing Market." If you haven't read it, it was based in California. That was what they were looking at. Many of us were saddened a few weeks ago by the death of former President Jimmy Carter. After his presidency, Jimmy Carter moved back to Plains, Georgia. And I met him in 1982, I believe, when I was a graduate student in seminary at Candler School of Theology at Emory University in Atlanta. Jimmy Carter gave a number of lectures there on the seminary campus. And I went to his office one day and I asked him to autograph the book that he had just published entitled Keeping Faith. And that's what the book looks like. And like the title of his book, Jimmy Carter spent his retirement years keeping faith until the day he died. Carter will best be remembered for what he accomplished after he left the White House, especially the work he did with Habitat for Humanity. We learned from him the importance of offering affordable housing, and this proposed gateway project is a creative way, thinking outside the box, a way for us in our own place in time to be keeping faith and to be showing faith as well. And so I hope you will be like Jimmy Carter. I think he would love this gateway project.
Thank you.
So I am Taylor Stone. Know many of you very well. I know this parcel very well. Many a times I have been down there on a Monday afternoon with Sonny, picking up trash up and down Jameson. Me, coming from the building and real estate perspective, always wondered what could be here, what would work. We currently own quite a few rentals close by and have been involved in revitalizing Southeast through providing quality rentals and homes for purchase for many years. I have been excited about the energy in the last few years in Southeast. We are seeing families, individuals purchase homes in Southeast Roanoke. I think this gateway project sends a really strong message. It sends the message that future investors, this is a place to invest in. Look at what's happening here, and that change is taking place. Therefore, I urge you to approve this zoning change. Thank you.
And the last two speakers, Dominic Ford and Dwayne Howard.
Welcome, Mr. Ford.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Ford, and currently the president of the Downtown Roanoke Neighborhood Committee. Now, looking at this, it's going to be really nice. It could be a really nice place. However, it's echoing off the ladies from the Ram House, and there was another lady that mentioned the addictions. When you take addictions and you've got $450 a month to rent, you will take a beautiful building right here adjacent to the Innovation Corridor, and you would destroy that area because you have individuals living there with no structure. They haven't been taught structure. You have people who live in the Ram House by day, as she said, and the rescue mission by night. Where's the structure? You're just going to take and give them a key and say, take off? I've seen this happen multiple times. This will be a beautiful project, but you cannot do this without structure, okay? We the people voted for you all for change. And the Innovation Corridor should be our main focus. The Innovation Corridor is in sight of this project. If this were student housing, this would be phenomenal. And that should be our vision, to grow our city with student housing and the Innovation Corridor. $450 a month, this is what would happen. You would take one person. Now I've got my apartment. Do you think they're going to leave their friends out in the cold? No. So you've got 155 units. One friend invites his friends, and so on and so on. And now you've got one big hangout. Now, the number one concern we should focus on is safety. Law enforcement, EMTs. Speaking of law enforcement, they are overworked and underpaid dealing with the problems we're dealing with right now. Do you know the demands that would happen to law enforcement, EMTs in the emergency room if we just take unlimited people at $400 a month and all their friends and put them right here adjacent to downtown and the innovation corridor? It's not a wise decision. We need to take our time and really revisit things. Put structurized programs in place for self-sufficiency prior to just giving someone a key. All right? Thanks for my time.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Howard.
Good evening. Welcome, Ms. Powers. I'd like to remind you all, the 4 new members of City Council, that I believe you got a lot of votes and support from the people for when the city did that major rezoning change. The general public knew nothing about it, and there's a couple of lawsuits concerning that. The same thing with this project. People in Southeast don't know about it. People in the city don't know about it. And I've been to some of the Belmont Fallon Park meetings. There might be 2 or 3 people there. And again, I reiterate, you're going to put hundreds of people between 2 major highways. And they're going to have to always go out that door wherever they want to go, to walk anywhere. They've got to cross those highways. And the city has said there are no traffic calming plans for that. Plus, the people don't know about it. I want you to see this sign that was put up in the medium of those 2 blocks over there, 3 blocks. I saw this yellow sign there for months, or however long it was out. I thought it was one of those signs that we buy houses, or we sell your children or something. I mean, seriously, you can't read it if you're driving by. So what was the point of putting this up? No one saw it. You can't see it. You can't read that driving by at 25 and 35 miles an hour. Our neighborhood does not know about this, and it's fundamentally wrong. You 4 new members of council were elected because we didn't know about that major zoning change. I believe you're going to make a mistake and put hundreds of people in their lives jeopardy when they try to cross these roads. And that blood will be on the rescue mission and the developers. I ask you to consider delaying your vote tonight, because more of the public needs to be aware of this. Again, you 4 were elected. You understand the problem of not getting the word out to the people. And I implore you to just turn it down tonight, to give more time for the public to become aware of this. We deserve better. The Planning Commission is a joke. It meets in the middle of the day. Everyone that would be opposed to it, they're working, you know. And then you have all of these people, the rescue mission and the developers. They can speak before you as long as they want. As long as it takes, they have all the time in the world. But then you only give us 3 minutes. You don't ask us questions, but you only give us 3 minutes. We only get 3 minutes before the Planning Commission, when they can spend hours talking. The city can talk. The system is just simply not fair. And I would beg you to turn it down and delay it. Thank you.
Any more speakers?
No.
That's it. All right. I'm going to close the public hearing. Apparently, we have 1 person who signed up online. I'll let them speak. Do we have any more that are here that signed
We have
up?
some speakers later in the
Okay, so this sometimes occurs.
Yes,
where people signed up online but didn't specify which topic you were speaking on, because we have a portion later on general topics. If you signed up to speak related to this issue, then I'll invite you to come up and speak now. If you're speaking on something else, that will come later in the agenda. So did you sign up to speak about this?
Yeah, I wrote the gateway project.
Okay, then come on up. Just tell us your name and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Lauren Canary. I live in Southeast. I also work in Southeast. I trained here at our medical school and had the joy of moving to Southeast and just fell in love with the ability to have an affordable home with a view of Mill Mountain next to the Greenway. close to work. I work now as a resident physician in primary care, caring mostly for residents of Southeast. And it's been a joy to get to know the community well. Southeast is really special. I don't think people spend a lot of time over there, but if you've been to Chris's Coffee or to our mountain biking trails in our community garden, it's a really lovely place. I think we have a lot of characters in Southeast, which you'll notice when you're driving around. I love that we have people from all different walks of life. It's very diverse. And there's folks who work really hard. You'll often see people out underneath the hood of their car, changing their own oil. It's the kind of community where they're not going to judge you for, having a bathtub in your front yard, like my wife and I currently do right now. So we're trying to figure out what to do with it. It's not a place where an HOA is gonna thrive. But anyways, I come to you to encourage you to support this project and to say thank you so much to the Rescue Mission, who does so much for our community, and thanks to the Planning Commission, who also does a lot of hard work to ensure that our community stays special. I know that it's going to be a short period of time before people realize how magical Southeast is, and you're going to want to come and move there. And my hope is that we can maintain the nature of the community, especially our elders and those individuals who are on fixed incomes as housing prices go up. I can tell you that in the clinic, I've seen patients, just last week I had one person who was crying in the office. I was asking her why she wasn't taking her COPD inhaler, why she wasn't using it. She hadn't refilled it in several months. And she started crying. She said that she's taking care of a son who's an adult son with special needs. She's on a fixed income. After she pays the rent for her home, she has $200 left for the month. That's supposed to cover everything else. She was crying. She could barely afford groceries. I was trying to find resources for her just to get her food, let alone co-pays for COPD inhalers. These are the kind of choices that people in Southeast are making every day with the cost of housing going up. We have individuals that are living in trailers, on properties, in garages, dealing with fires in the wintertime. We have a desperate need for housing. And we know that from a healthcare perspective, that people that have housing have lower levels of stress, they have improved mental health, improved physical health. They use the emergency department less because they're able to engage in preventive care, which is what I love, when we can take care of them. And when we have creative options like this, we actually have a chance to co-locate our services for our folks who are more vulnerable, those who are experiencing substance use disorder, for example, or have higher needs for wraparound services. So I think this would be incredibly impactful. I certainly appreciate the challenges with traffic. Jameson can be quite tough to navigate during rush hour, but I think we've got this amazing protected bike lane on 9th Street that could be extended onto Jameson and would make a really great way for people to commute in a more green fashion. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you again for everyone involved in this project and all the work that's gone into planning it. And I hope that you'll encourage Roanoke to move forward and adopt more affordable housing for our community in Southeast. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Now I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll have an opportunity now to have questions or comments by council if you all want to be available. I want to say two things just very quickly. We are a council of 7 people, not 4 people. So please keep that in mind. Regardless of when we were elected, we're serving in this context of time. So please remember that. The second thing is, please do not refer to any of our volunteers in our city who serve on our boards and commissions as a joke. That's inappropriate and unacceptable. They are volunteers who do incredible work for our community. I expect full respect for the work that they do. So I just wanted to make those 2 comments, and now we'll move on to questions or comments from council members related to the Gateway project. Okay. Mr. Nash?
I first off and to start, I support this and I'll be voting yes. Get that out the way. Oftentimes, and my background is community health. This is what I went to school for. It's what I'm currently getting my master's for from the University of Alabama. I got a paper I got to finish and submit tonight. So I'm trying to get out, but I'm joking. But oftentimes what we don't see in communities, we sit here and we hear about all the resources and amenities and necessities that we don't have. They don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have a protected bike lane. We don't have, all these things, right? there has not been a reason, and this is just my take, there's not been a reason for the city to go and put that infrastructure in place when there's no one living in that area. That's the way, when people are looking at dollars and cents and bottom lines and practicality, you're going to put a protected bike lane where people are actually living and thriving, and where people are actually going to use the bike lane on a daily basis, or they're going to use the bike lane to get to the greenway and then go off and do whatever they want to do. Now that we will have these units coming, these 150 units coming, now we have the motivation, now we have the reason, now we have the motive to go. And on our part, they're doing their part. They're providing the housing. The city of Roanoke has to step up now and make sure that those streets are safe for people to navigate, regardless if they're walking, if they're biking, if they're going across in a wheelchair or any type of mobility device. Now it's on us to make sure that that entire area is safe and conducive for everyone to live a happy and healthy life. So I want to get that out the way and say that. And this is a prime location for people who are of low income to live, because it is close to where they work, if that's Carillion, because we all know Carillion is where a lot of people of low income work, unfortunately, right? They're the people that clean the buildings. They're the people that pick up the trays out of your rooms when you're impatient. This is where they need to be. They deserve to be near downtown where they can go and have a good time, and they can access the same amenities that any of us can get in our car and drive to anytime we want. They deserve that. And the last point that I will bring up in my question, we have 2 bus stops in that area, correct? Mm-hmm. Are there shelters there currently, or ADA concrete pads?
I don't believe so.
No. Can we make sure that we are putting it on the list with the transportation company to go and evaluate those 2 areas to make sure that by the time we cut the ribbon and people are moving in, we try our best to have that done, or at least have it on a list to get done eventually? Because, back to my first point, now we know that we will have people living in this area, so we have to make sure that it's conducive for them to live. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Catherine, did you want to say anything about that?
Sure, I was just going to mention, Catherine Gray, Principal Planner with the City of Roanoke. Just wanted to mention to council members that this is part of our Belmont-Fallon target area, as our target area is a portion of the city where the city sets aside over 50% of the funds that we get from the federal government for housing and community development in the city every year. Bus shelters is one of the things that we are spending money on and have been spending money on, and you will start to see those being installed, I believe, this year. And then there's some additional bus shelters that will be installed, again, as part of this at multiple shelter sites within this Belmont-Fallon target area.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Volleson?
To add to that, I'll work at the Transportation Planning Organization to make sure we prioritize that.
Thank you.
My question actually is similar. It's about parking. I was kind of wondering why we have a 1-to-1 ratio for our parking on this project. I would have expected it to be, well, at least I would have hoped for it to be less than what it currently is, with there being more green space. So in a place where we don't have parking minimums, I'm wondering why so many spots were put aside.
From a city standpoint, there is no parking minimum in our zoning code, and so, but we do always look to see, is there an appropriate amount of parking that it would not overburden the surrounding area. The 1-to-1 ratio is what the project came in with as being proposed, and city staff thinks that that is appropriate.
There wasn't any discussion of doing anything less than 1-to-1?
No. So we did look to make sure we did not think it was overparked. And so in our determination, it would not be overparked. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Ms. Powers?
Yes, thank you.
Today's my first day here, and I'm new to this, but I have spent a lot of time going over there looking at this Gateway project. And I will have to tell you, I've had my concerns about it, but I walked out of this building on my last day of spending 43 years here to someone that I've been helping. I saw this lady on the street, and I've been helping her for several years in tears. She had been evicted from her apartment, which is just a few streets over, where they were going up to $780 a month for a one-bedroom, and she can't afford it. It was really sad, and I said, "Where are you living?" And at that time, she's staying with a friend that she's not going to be able to stay there long. And it was really exciting to hear you say $450, because I said, "Well, what can you afford?" And she said, "I can't afford anything more than $500. She said, "Right now, if I paid the $780, I would have $33 left for the month." And we know we can't live in that. I have looked at the transportation issues that I thought there was, and I have a friend that served on the transportation board who has assured me that putting up traffic lights is not a traffic calming issue. And he asked me this one question that I had not thought of. He said, "Think about when you're driving down the road, what happens if you're currently going up to the stoplight and all of a sudden it turns yellow? What do you see a lot of people do? Speed up to get through it." So I'm like Faison. I just want you to know that I think you guys have done a good job, and this supports something that I think we really need for people who can't afford to live in a home.
This question is for Ms. Gray. Ms. Gray, can you clarify something for me, please? Is there a traffic calming pattern on Bullitt Avenue?
So there was a traffic calming measure that was done several decades ago, which is called chicanes, which was not as effective as that we might like. But the city is currently working on the plan for Vision Zero, which involves a lot of traffic calming measures. Some of the traffic calming measures that you'll begin to see at places like 9th Street are things like curb extensions, where we're narrowing the roadway, tree plantings. You'll see things like public art. You'll see enhanced crosswalks and things like that. One of the other things that you see in our more urban areas is you see things like buildings being close to the street. You see a visual narrowing of space, and things like that tend to make people slow down. So those are some of the things that you would see. Additionally, I think one of the questions that you have is the pedestrian crossings, and would we have enhanced safety measures there? And the answer is yes. And so that has been something that has been part of the conversation. That is something that during every development plan review that comes in through an administrative process with the city that we look at. We have a group that meets to go over all of that, from transportation, from stormwater, from planning, from zoning, and we come up with the proper things that we ask for. That is something that within the zoning code we can require. So you see things that we request, such as curb, gutter, sidewalk, planting strips, street trees, enhanced crosswalks, and those are the types of things that we would be requesting here.
Thank you.
Mr. Reagan?
Yeah, so I have a few questions for Homes for America. So first one is, has Homes for America ever sold or otherwise divested themselves of management projects? And if so, what type of protections have you all put in place to protect the tenants from price increases of future owners?
Right, so we are a long-term owner of our properties. But there may be occasions, or there have been occasions, where we have partnered with another partner or stepped in to help a project or help develop a project where it may have been something that we did to make sure that that affordable housing got developed, but it wasn't for our long-term hold. And if we have sold a project or we have not been part of the partnership, in the cases that I'm aware of, it's always been with another nonprofit partner who was a better fit or the fit geographically or through their services for that property, so that we could ensure that the project was going to continue to be an affordable housing project. We don't develop properties, hold them for a period of time, and then sell them to a market rate developer.
Okay, that actually takes care of my next question.
Okay.
I guess no, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I also am proud to support this project because I think we desperately need the actual affordable housing, and in campaigning and knocking on doors all over the city, and I know my colleagues up here have met lots of folks all over the city who are just really struggling day to day to put food on the table and to pay their bills and to afford the medicines that they need. And so I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's a great project, very thoughtful. I like the location. I think it makes sense being downtown. I just wanted to speak really quickly to two concerns that I think did have some merit. One is being addressed, and that's the transportation, pedestrian safety issues. It is no doubt that that is not a great area. There are traffic concerns, there are pedestrian safety concerns, but the way I think about it is that we should solve and address those problems. Those aren't enough, those are not good reasons to not move forward with desperately needed affordable housing. So I'm confident that we can do that, and I'll be hoping that we get updates as this process moves along. Ms. Gray mentioned, implementing Vision Zero. And so I want to be as supportive as we can to make sure that we actually get some meaningful traffic safety improvements in that area. And then the other was environmental concerns. I don't know if you looked at, is there a stormwater management plan that goes along with this? And where I'm kind of going with this is I know that it's so tight, the financing, all the numbers to make this work. Is there an opportunity for us to, through looking at the climate action plan, I don't know that we're going to have any federal dollars available to us any longer, but could we somehow offset costs for things like permeable pavement or things that would reduce stormwater runoff that isn't possible financially on the developer side? Maybe we don't necessarily have the money on the city side, but we could find a way to seek grants. I don't know. That may not be possible, but I think that I hear the concern about, the excess parking and the stormwater runoff and the heat, and we're very aware of the urban heat impacts that we're seeing in Southeast included. So just anything we can do to mitigate that, I think will be really important. And the last thing, Mayor, I just wanted to ask really quickly, to put our city manager on the spot. I was wondering if maybe sometime, because again, I think that it is a really valid concern, the traffic issues over there. I wanted to invite you maybe sometime to come out. I'd love to, if you haven't had a chance to get around in that area, maybe we could do a walk sometime and just show you that part of the city if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
Absolutely, I would love that, so just let me
Okay.
know when.
Well, I'll work with your office. Thank you. We'll schedule that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just a couple of things to add to my colleagues. For 13 years, I worked, I think some days lived, next to this property at 8th and Jameson. So I'm very familiar with this property. I've seen all the starts and fits and every condition this property has been in. And so knowing the length of time that you all have been working toward a catalyst for this area is really inspiring to me, and I want to thank you for that. One of the things I really like about this approach is that it's not only about creating a range of affordability, and I think we heard that in the percentages of AMI. So I think this is housing that's appropriate for students. I think it's appropriate for people at the Research Institute, for people engaging in work in the innovation corridor, which we're continuing to see growth with biotech, For people who don't want to purchase a home but want to live in a nice apartment that's close to downtown, this is ideal for that. I understand and appreciate the challenges related to recovery housing. That's kind of a parallel discussion that we're having in the city, and I think an absolutely critical part of that is structure. And we, as part of our housing plan, need to keep that in mind as we're continuing to build out these opportunities for affordability. Because in many of these scenarios, the Rescue Mission knows this, anyone that works with addiction and recovery in that pathway knows that you have to have structure and stability. I don't share the concern that most of this will be recovery housing or but there may be some people in recovery who live in these homes, and that's fine. So this is almost a clarion call, really, not only to the Rescue Mission, but to our recovery organizations in the city, that when someone has completed their treatment, that those services and those support mechanisms and that structure does not end there. That's something that is very concerning to me, and I think it's a gap that we have. I think some programs do it well in terms of sustaining that structure, but many do not. So to me, that's a challenge that we need to continue to address in the city. Some of the things I love about this are the amenities for the people living there. In a way, it's creating a village center within a village center near downtown. So I want you to think about what's been happening in Belmont-Fallon. If you go, one of our new neighborhood center plans is 9th Street. If you think about the improvements that have been made and are continuing to be made along 9th Street, those are connector points to the Greenway. This is very close to the Greenway. We're going to continue to build that out with Vision Zero and bicycle safety paths. So all of that is in constant motion in our city. We're going to see improvements related to new businesses, making that 9th Street corridor a destination and not just a pass-through, which is going to be really transformative. This neighborhood is going to be very close to that. Just on the other side of 9th Street, well, actually on this side of 9th Street, we have seen homes rehabilitated. We've seen new homes built. Habitat has been building a large number of homes between 9th Street and 13th Street. Many of those are single-family homes. Some of them are multifamily. Restoration Housing has rehabilitated homes in that area that are single and multifamily. This project is part of that overall effort, and it's part of the transformation that's happening in Southeast Roanoke. Riverdale is another piece of that. All of these things work together. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's a synergy that's being created, and I do believe it's going to help reduce homelessness in our community, as will adding to the inventory of housing affordability and a range of that. In terms of the amenities, what I really like about Homes for America is I think this is going to create digital access and equity for people who are living there. I think it's going to create opportunities for financial education, for healthcare, social programming, ways for people to connect, not only within the community, but also outside, and in this green space. I do like the idea of incentivizing further if we're able to do that. But I think those are the things that I wanted to highlight as part of this. And again, I want to thank you all for the hard work you've put into this, the Planning Commission, for all of the residents who've come out and spoken about this tonight. You've all made really valid points, and we thank you for that and appreciate you taking the time. Any other questions or comments? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Nay.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb?
Aye. And the, what's the language I'm looking for?
Resolution.
The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Okay, our next public hearing is to consider Appalachian Power Company's request for an easement across city-owned property bearing tax map numbers 1040302 and 1040401. We're going to take a 3-minute recess to let folks that need to leave, and we'll resume in 3 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're now ready for our second public hearing to consider Appalachian Power Company's request for an easement across city-owned property bearing tax map numbers 1040-302 and 1040-401. There's one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes. An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of above-ground utility easements across a city-owned property bearing Roanoke official tax map numbers 104-0302 and 104-0401, located adjacent to Franklin Road Southwest to Appalachian Power Company, upon certain terms and conditions, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Mark Nelson, who is our Director of Economic Development, is here. And Mark, I'll let you share anything you'd like as part of this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and city manager. We were supposed to have a representative from AEP join us tonight. For obvious reasons with the storm coming, he was unable to attend. This is a fairly simple easement. I'll do my best to walk you through it so we can get Councilman Nash on to write his paper quickly.
Finish it. Just finish it. I have it done. I just got to edit it.
We'll do our best to get you on your way as quickly as possible. So basically, I put the two maps that we included as exhibits up there. This includes 4 poles. It goes across Franklin Road. If you look at the parcel on Exhibit A, they're both labeled Exhibit A because there are 2 separate applications, so we didn't mislabel it. It's just the way it was that they submitted the paperwork. So that first pole you see is actually in front of the former Ramada Hotel site. That is a city-owned site. The pole is existing. It goes across Franklin Road and connects just north of Edinburgh Drive. It then continues approximately 250 feet up. It connects from one pole to the next, just north of Wiley Drive. So that's a total span. It's in an existing right-of-way. And then from there, the easement terminates, but then they have an existing right-of-way along Wiley Drive that will connect to the new tower over at Carillion. So they need this to be able to make that connection coming across and to place guy wires, which are the long metal cables that basically bolster down existing utilities. So that is what they're requesting.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Mr. Volleson.
Just to make sure I've got this correct in my mind. Basically on the right-hand side where those poles are, that's where the tennis courts are at River's Edge?
Yeah, Councilman Volleson, that's exactly where it is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I'll open the public hearing. Are there any citizens signed up to speak on this public hearing?
No, I do not have
Okay.
any.
I will close the public hearing. I don't believe there are any comments or further questions by council, so we are ready to vote.
All right. Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire? And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you. Do you need us to take more time?
I'll leave it up to Councilman Nash.
We're good.
All right. Thank you all for your patience. We are now moving into hearing of citizens upon public matters. The City Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. If deemed appropriate, matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report back to City Council. Madam Clerk, I know we have citizens signed up to speak, so if you'll call them in order, that would be lovely.
Okay, we have 4 speakers. The first 2, Blair Burton and Asashi Amaka.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Cobb and Roanoke City Council members. My name is Blair Barton, and I'm a current resident of the South Jefferson neighborhood of Roanoke City. I'm here today as a medical student, alongside many members of the medical community, and as a member of the Refugee and Immigrant Medical Association to advocate for Roanoke City to adopt policies that encourage improved public safety for immigrants. My views are my own and do not represent those of my school or any hospital or institution. Since joining the Roanoke community, my colleagues and I have been deeply moved by its spirit of inclusion and hospitality. Roanoke has long been a welcoming city, one that embraces diversity, values community, and thrives on the contributions of all residents, regardless of immigration status. Simply travel down Williamson Road, and you can eat your way through several parts of the world in just a few miles, exploring immigrant-owned restaurants and grocery stores such as Vietza, Bethlehem Restaurant, and Saigon Market. Or spend some time volunteering at Blue Ridge Literacy or Roanoke Refugee Partnership, as many of several of my classmates and I have, to experience the multitude of languages and cultures that exist within our little city. It's easy to see how our welcoming nature has enriched our community through cultural diversity. In February 2024, Roanoke officially extended that welcoming culture to our large immigrant community by earning the status of the first certified welcoming city in Virginia. This status affirmed our city's dedication to endorsing policies and partnerships that promote immigrant inclusion. However, while the certified welcoming status aids immigrants in establishing roots in Roanoke, many still live in fear that the lives they have built here could be taken away at the drop of a hat, regardless of their true immigration status and contributions to the nation. This fear has only intensified in recent weeks. I recently volunteered at an event which offered free dental care to children in our community. It was meant to be a fun, carefree event, but there was a sense of apprehension among many attendees. In recent weeks, many of our immigrant neighbors have been afraid to seek health care, go to school, and even get groceries for fear of the new administration's efforts to ramp up deportations. At the dental event, one man brought a van full of young Hispanic children who had come without their parents. They desperately needed free dental care, but their parents were terrified to even accompany their kids to the dentist for fear of family separation. It was chilling to see how this fear is already impacting our community, and even more frightening to imagine the further repercussions on the healthcare of our immigrant neighbors, our future patients. One of the strongest reasons Roanoke should expand its welcoming city policies is the impact it will have on public health, public safety, and community trust. My colleagues will expand on our vision for these policies, but at the basis of our recommendations is the idea that when all residents feel safe interacting with law enforcement, our entire community benefits. Right now, many immigrants hesitate to report crimes or serve as witnesses, fearing that any interaction with police could lead to separation from their families. This fear makes our entire community less safe. Prioritizing local safety and community trust among immigrant communities is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. When immigrants feel safe, they're also more likely to seek health care, report labor violations, and enroll their children in school, all of which contribute to a healthier, more stable community. Out of concern for the safety and well-being of our neighbors, friends, and future patients, we urge you to recognize the need for updated immigration policies and contemplate ways in which we can strengthen our current policies to continue to foster trust, inclusion, and opportunity for everyone who calls Roanoke home.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, Mayor Cobb and City Council members. I'm Ayushi Ambekar, and I am also a medical student. I'm a current resident of South Jefferson neighborhood of Roanoke City, and I'm here to advocate for policies that encourage improved public safety for immigrants as someone dedicating their livelihood to the well-being of others. My views are my own and do not represent those of my school or any hospital or institution. When I first began volunteering at Blue Ridge Literacy, I expected to teach, but what I didn't expect was how much I would learn. About resilience, about determination, about the unwavering human spirit that refuses to be broken. One afternoon, I met a man who had just arrived from Afghanistan. His world had been upended, his home left behind, yet his focus wasn't on what he had lost. It was on what he could build. He was eager to start working, to contribute, to carve out a future in a place that was still unfamiliar, but full of promise. When I helped him set up his first email account, he was ecstatic because that small, simple step meant opportunity. It meant he could apply for jobs and take his first step towards independence. His story is not unique. Refugees and immigrants in Roanoke are not just seeking shelter, they're seeking a chance to belong, to work, to give back. When we create policies that protect and support them, we're not just offering kindness, we're investing in the very growth and prosperity of Roanoke itself. Immigrants are not a financial burden. They're a driving force behind the nation's economy and social vitality. At the national level, a recent report by the American Immigration Council shows that immigrants have a collective spending power of $1.4 trillion and have paid $382.9 billion in federal taxes and $196.3 billion in state and local taxes in 2022 alone. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that nationally, foreign-born workers make up 18.6% of the labor force, including 8.3 million undocumented individuals who fill critical jobs in our sectors. According to the Center for Migration Studies, immigrants account for 15.6% of nursing positions, 28% of health care aid roles, and 25% of agricultural jobs. These facts highlight how immigrants can help address critical labor shortages, which are projected to worsen in the coming decade without the infusion of immigrant workers. Immigrants have made a meaningful contribution to Roanoke's local economy as well. Research by New American Economy found that within Roanoke, immigrant households earn a collective $340 million annually. They contribute over $75 million in taxes and inject more than $228 million in spending power into the local economy. This is all to say, they strengthen our local economy, fuel our workforce, and enrich our community. But this is not just about policy, it's about human dignity. It is about ensuring that all residents of Roanoke are treated with fairness, respect, and the opportunity to contribute to a safer, more prosperous community. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, Mayor Cobb and City Council members. My name is Austin Fitzgerald, and I am also a medical student and resident of downtown Roanoke. I am here today to encourage policies that align with the Roanoke City Plan for 2040, particularly the interwoven equity subsection, which prioritizes community trust and diversity. My views are my own and do not represent my school or any hospital or institution. While Roanoke is Virginia's only certified welcoming city, Alexandria and Richmond have declared themselves inclusive communities, setting unique policies that prioritize public safety and community trust while complying with state law. I am honored to be a part of a medical community that rallies around refugee and immigrant assistance efforts with our own time, money, expertise, and advocacy to build trust and protect these individuals. As people also working in a field of public service and welfare, I ask you, is there not more that local policymakers could be doing as well to ensure protection and build trust with our neighbors who are immigrants? There are several ways that policymakers can reestablish trust with the entire Roanoke community. Like Fairfax and Arlington counties, Roanoke can implement a trust policy to ensure that city employees do not ask about immigration status unless required by law. This strengthens trust and encourages all residents to seek help and education or report breaches of safety when needed. Many immigrants, including those with legal status, are unaware of their rights. The city can partner with nonprofits like the Virginia Justice Center for Immigrants to expand free legal aid and know your rights education and resources. I have witnessed the real-life consequences of the current lack of policy support in these matters. I personally assist a refugee family with a very ill member who cannot gain insurance, on top of his wife needing to work overnight shifts just to keep a roof over their heads. These compounded barriers leave him reliant on frequent preventable emergency room visits, an exhausting and expensive cycle that burdens both the family and the healthcare system. In the best interest of community health and trust building, we suggest that Roanoke follows Greensboro, North Carolina, and Richmond, Virginia, in implementing a municipal ID program for anyone who struggles to obtain traditional IDs. This would allow all residents, regardless of immigration status, to access local services, but it also benefits unhoused residents, senior citizens, and low-income families. During volunteering at one of our local free clinics, I've seen how the lack of reliable translation services leads to devastating lapses in care. Language barriers prevent residents from reporting crimes, seeking medical care, or accessing city resources. To offset one of the largest barriers our immigrant community faces, Roanoke can expand bilingual support in local government services while also better supporting trusted local groups who are already providing language access and other public services. The great Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls, to arrive at its destination full of hope." Yet too often, we hear about building walls instead of breaking barriers, when the reality is that many of our neighbors who are immigrants have already crossed deserts, rivers, and borders, not just for survival, but for the hope of a better future. Virginia proudly calls itself the place for lovers, but love is more than a slogan, it's an action. By enacting best practice, welcoming city policies, Roanoke can honor that hope, uphold our values, and ensure an inclusive community built on trust where all can contribute and prosper. We have an opportunity to reaffirm what the city stands for. Do you have the will and the courage to follow through? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
And the last speaker is Chris Kraft. I don't know if he's still here. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Chris, welcome.
Good evening.
We can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor Cobb. Well, as you know, many of you know who I am. I'm the president of the Wildwood Civic League, which turns 91 years old this year. I am sort of proud of the city of Roanoke, and I'm sort of disproud. I had a gentleman, Arpit Sonny, come and he spent quite a bunch of money redoing the old racetrack gas station on 460 into a masterpiece of our neighborhood. Well, for his grand opening, it was confirmed that city council would be there. No one called and said, they're not coming. So the morning of, one person politely said that they had something else to do. That was Miss Sanchez-Jones, and I appreciate that. But I was told that the city manager at the time canceled the appearance, which is not right. Every time Wildwood has something, we have no city council members show up. Mayor Lee left his doctor's appointment to come and cut the ribbon. I really appreciated that. On another note, we've had quite the conversation at Wildwood about taxes. Well, why should I pay taxes? It's like throwing money in the trash. You drive around the city of Roanoke and places, and look at the state inspections expired over 3 months, 4 months, a year. Tags expired. I seen city inspections still in the center of the windshield. Tags from '02 driving around Roanoke. And when I asked the city police department why they're not doing anything, we were ordered not to. We were told we were not to mess with them, which is not right, because you know what happens with that money? That's what fixes our roads. That's what helps pay our teachers, our public safety. And I don't think it's right. We need to do something, especially Radar, who transports our vulnerable people. They got buses that have tags out for over a year. Inspections that ain't done in almost 2 years. And when you call them, they'll say, oh, we're working on it. Oh, we can't do nothing about it. That's Valley Metro. Bull. If you want our handicapped and our elderly on your buses, you need to make sure they're safe and they're passing the law. And I also want to thank our city manager for coming to the ribbon cutting, and Mayor Cobb for mentioning Wildwood Civic League at the firehouse in Roanoke County's ribbon cutting. Even though Roanoke County moved into the city, they did not recognize the Wildwood Neighborhood Association. They didn't even say one thing like, thank you for helping us, thank you for welcoming us. They didn't care where they were, but if I would have come into the county to do that, they wouldn't like it either. But thank you, and I hope we can get these past state inspections and license plates taken care of, because it's not right that we're taking money away from the state.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. We will follow up on that matter. All right? Any other speakers?
No.
All right.
No other speakers.
There being no further business set forth to come before council tonight, this council meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Deal, Secretary of State Marco Rubio insisted that Russia would also have to make concessions, not just Ukraine. Is Russia, do you think, ready to make any concessions in order to reach some kind of peace agreement?
Well, there's absolutely nothing that I've heard of the past week or 10 days that would suggest that Russia is anywhere closer to even remotely considering the idea of making concessions. In fact, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, he said that any territorial concessions to Ukraine, out of the question, responding to this idea that we heard